this has been. What a random. Why, it's almost like being a turd. Thank you to the TRAs, the men's rights activists over there who have wonderfully decided to take over the feminist icon statue, which I think embodies everything and the reason why we're here, because they decided to interlope into our spaces, to interlope into our conversations, and we're basically saying no. You're not coming for our kids, you're not coming for our spaces. Whatever you think you're going to gain from trying to trash women's rights, it's not going to happen, not on my watch. So lovely to see many of you northern women who can't usually make it down to Speaker's Corner in London. So we thought we'd come to you, Manchester being such a historic place for the fight for women's rights. So why are we here? Because handmaidens and women have decided to give up our spaces to men. They've decided somehow that they've listened to the cries of these nasty, entitled men and they've gone, I feel sorry for you. I think you should come into our spaces. They only want to pee and masturbate in our toilets. They only want access to our children to convince our children that they also could join the cult of trans. And what is so frightening is how many young women are pulled into this. Right, can I just say, I don't mind anyone taking pictures. I don't care what his motive is, I don't care. We are transparent here. I don't have any idea about your motives, by the way. But we are transparent here because all we're saying is, can we just not have men in our spaces? Can we just not give our children mutilating drugs and hormones? Can we not encourage our very young women to slice off their breasts? I don't believe we should be embarrassed or afraid to say it. And if you're still afraid, I'm wondering why. Because actually, what is happening is far more scary than whatever consequence can happen to you. And I mean anything. I'm talking about young women, age 18, within 3 months of visiting a nasty surgeon can get their breasts sliced off. That's what I'm talking about. How bad does it have to get before you speak? The people of Manchester have no idea that their children are being taught about anal sex at age 13 in their classrooms. They have no idea that sexuality, any sexuality, I'm not talking about specific sexualities, any at all, is being taught to prepubescent children. This is not about the acceptance of all sorts of families, which I'm sure most of us would agree, except if your dad's an AGP. And then we really would like to see the courts intervene in why a man is parading his fetish in front of his children. But each and every one of us have got a peak trans story, I'm sure. I'll tell you mine. So in 2015, David Cameron took office. I didn't see that coming. I was so embedded and wedded to the left that I really thought we had it. And then I realised I was in some sort of crazy echo chamber in which the left was no longer on my side. The left had decided, and I'm not saying the right's on our side, let me just make that clear, but the left had decided that what it wanted to do was prioritise men in dresses parading their fetish above women. And each and every corner I turned in my little left-wing bubble just turned against me. My question was, does my 11-year-old daughter have the right to use a female-only space and not see an adult penis? And for that I was told, no. No, she doesn't. She's a bigot. She's staring at genitals. She's raised a pervert. This was in left-wing feminist circles on Facebook and all types of social media. I'm now banned from Twitter. I've appealed, even with Elon Musk. I'm not allowed back in. It's just me and Trump. So hopefully I'm going to get an invite to Truth Social. But everywhere I turned, every place I'm sure any of you have looked for solidarity where you thought you would find it, you've been told, no, women aren't important. Did you not know? Did you not know we've been prioritising men accessing prostitutes all these years? Did you think that we'd change for you? Did you honestly think that when you said, can we just keep pervy men out of our spaces, that any of them would say, yes, of course you can, because I bloody did. And it didn't happen. So that was my peak trans story. In this lefty, awesome lefty women group, there were men basically looking like men who'd done trucking for most of their lives. More masculine men than I could care to envisage, who basically put on lipstick, took soft focus selfies and put them in the group chat where nobody was even discussing whether they were heterosexual, married, mothers, nothing. And these men basically put their selfies in, and do you know what the women did? Oh, your eye makeup is so great. Oh, you look so beautiful. You look like a sexy secretary. And I was like, well, that is what they're going for. Stunning and brave, each and every one of them. And as you probably know, in 2018, the children's champion, Susie Green, reported me to the police, and I got interviewed under caution by the West Yorkshire police, who came down to Wiltshire. And what they decided to do was stay in a hotel, because you know how police forces are just brimming with money. You'll know that from the times that you've reported a crime for yourself. They just can't wait to help. And what they did is they interviewed me for an hour and a half under caution. Is it wrong to say that it's child abuse to castrate your 16-year-old? Really? Should she have been the one in the hot seat? I think so. Now Susie Green is selling trans to kids up and down the country. They are in your schools. They tried to be in my school, well, Giles did, and I just said, oh no, you won't be doing that. That's not going to happen. You are not going to make girls and boys afraid of their own opinions and their own dignity and their own safeguarding. You're not going to do that to kids, my kids, and you need to do it for your own. Now, Speaker's Corner, how it goes, you can say what the hell you want. Please don't incite violence, because it's on my live stream and I'll get interviewed, just like Venice Allen and Linda Bellos. So please don't incite violence. Please ignore the handmaids and the men in dresses. Please ignore them. They commandeered the statue. They can't take our voices, they can't take our thoughts, and they won't take our rights. Anybody is welcome to take the microphone. You have to have a vagina to go first. As lovely as they are. So just put your hand up and you can come and speak. Try not to speak as long as I do. But yeah, who wants to speak? Come on.
Fantastic speech, by the way.
Yeah. What's your name and where'd you come from?
Hi, I'm Sophie from Stockport. I'm Stockportian Woman on Twitter. I'm one of the coordinators for Manchester Women's Rights Network and Stockport Coven also. We've just recently amalgamated, so we're stronger together. It's really difficult to know just where to start in Greater Manchester to deal with this gender ideology, because it's so ingrained. We are falling, Greater Manchester's falling so badly, it's so fast to gender ideology. It is hard to know where to start. 96 councillors in the city of Greater Manchester have passed a motion declaring trans rights are human rights. Now we have said to them, what does that even mean? Since they have declined to respond to our group, we take it to mean this. They will support men bulldozing their way into the safe spaces of women and girls. Councillors will put the safety of women and girls last. They will propel and promote anti-safeguarding group, the Proud Trust, and they will encourage the transition of gender non-conforming children. Councillors, you have got the right to reply. Please tell me that we are wrong. But since once you call us TERFs on Twitter, I don't think you are going to. Okay, just a snapshot of some things recently happened in one of the boroughs in Greater Manchester. Being from Stockport, I need to talk about Stockport. There's a new LGBT plus group called Forward. They've just emerged. They are supported, funded and hosted by Stockport Council. Recently, they have platformed paedophile apologist Peter Tatchell. They held a night that had no age limits, discussing breast binders, underwear packers, squidge pants and radar keys. So adults and children were present, no age limit. On their website they leave a mobile number that offers children counselling and crisis management. We asked them, are you qualified? Again, they have blocked us on Twitter, they refuse to engage. Stockport Council have said there is no safeguarding concern. Could this be because Stockport Council are Stonewall champions? Just a few things that have happened in local schools. We've had a few complaints from parents recently. Okay, so one primary school has reported to parents, have sent a letter out to parents that a Year 5 child is socially transitioning. They've received new pronouns and new name. This letter has gone out to 500 parents. The parents have been asked to search mermaids, to speak to their children about the fact this child has socially transitioned and how to accept them. Again, we've had no response to our complaint. 2 more primary schools have been found to not offer single-sex spaces. They have told me personally that Stockport Council agreed to their gender-neutral facilities. A high school in Stockport have added pronouns to all the teachers and all their staff signatures. A Catholic primary school have been reinforcing gender stereotypes. They have used the book When Kayla Was Kyle. Kyle doesn't like playing with cars, so of course he has transitioned into Kayla. They are teaching this to 6-year-old children. This is an absolute disgrace. That school are soon to be before a governor's panel. Okay, happily, our beliefs in science are now protected in law. So I am urging, this is a real local plea, to parents in Stockport, parents of Greater Manchester, to complain. We will support you. Excellent resources from Sex Matters, Transgender Trend and Safe School Alliance will be utilised. You can utilise them. Are we happy with young girls sharing toilets with young boys? No! Are we happy for gender ideology to be taught in our schools? No! Change will only happen if we all speak out. Be the change. Who's next?
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much. Who's next? Yeah? You can stand back here.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Nina. I'm a bit nervous, but unfortunately my mum isn't here and I don't have a dog to support me, so I'll just have to do this on my own. Yeah? I was first called a TERF back in 2015. I was in a fantastic group of women who were breastfeeding, and it was full of very intelligent liberal mothers who came together to help other mothers breastfeed. Peer support workers, lactation consultants, midwives and mothers. And in a group full of mothers, the term gender neutral and cisgender and even chest feeding were being tossed around. Sorry, I'm shaking, I was so nervous. And surprisingly, it was coming from somebody with blue hair. They were backed up by a few loud voices, and within a few sentences back and forth, I was called a TERF, transphobic, all uttered in my direction for what I thought, as a left-leaning Labour supporter and feminist at the time, was totally reasonable views. That using the word chest feeding in our group is rather silly, as we feed with our breasts. That women need female-only loos, and perhaps the solution was to campaign for unisex spaces, but to protect male and female spaces as well. But apparently that's bigoted and transphobic as well. And to my shame, the group did in the end agree to try and incorporate gender-neutral language. And at the time I was rather tongue-tied. You all know how these conversations go. When you first start, you don't know how to argue them. Reasoning with this ideology when you're not prepared is hard, and I flaked out and left the group. And cut to 2022, and we have a baby being used by a man with a fetish broadcasted and celebrated on TV for putting that baby to his male nipple where there's no sustenance to be found. Bringing an innocent baby into this world to validate his fantasy while the mother fawns alongside, looking very uncomfortable in my opinion. Her butchered breasts gone, just scars where her healthy breasts were removed by a surgeon with no ethics. It's disgusting, and I'm prepared to say it how it is now. No more checking my wording 10 times to make sure I don't offend somebody. I've had enough. Women and girls deserve sex-segregated spaces and services for their safety, dignity and comfort. Free from males, delusional or not. Okay? There are two people in my life that need these especially, and I'd like to tell you why. My daughter is 9 years old. Well, she's 10 now actually, because I wrote this speech for last year. And she's quite severely autistic, and communication is very limited. And she will most likely need personal care for her entire life. She is in a specialist residential school for children with special needs, and she needs help with wiping after the loo, showering, hair washing and all personal hygiene, including when she starts her periods. I want a female helping her with those things, and I want her right to personal care from a female perspective on the basis of sex. She deserves that for her safety, dignity and comfort, and that is her right. My mother lives in Scotland, where Nicola Sturgeon seems hell-bent on giving mothers sex-based rights away to men with lady feelings.
Shame on Sturgeon!
Yeah, shame on Sturgeon.
Shame on Sturgeon!
My mother was born in 1958, and she has experienced sexual abuse and rape in her lifetime. From her older brother who violated her as a child, to her sister's boyfriend raping her as a teen, to waking up to a man she'd allowed to sleep on the sofa having sex with her while she slept in her 30s. She doesn't like men much, okay? And who can fucking blame her, right? As my mother gets older, I'm acutely aware that at some point she may end up in hospital ward. If she gets poorly or falls and breaks something, she may end up needing personal care at home when she's unable to do so herself. And my mother deserves the right to care in a female-only ward in a hospital, to care from a female carer if it's ever needed. And over my dead body, will that right be stripped from her to validate some man's need to be seen as a woman? When I read guidelines printed by NHS Lanarkshire about NHS staff being treated as the gender they identified from the moment they said I am, I was gobsmacked. Allowed to apply for female-only caring positions, allowed to use female staff in facilities, showers and loos, and anybody who objected to be told to shut the fuck up. I've got receipts and it's madness. And it's only got worse. Male rapists sexually assaulting women in female prisons, male crime distorting female crime statistics as our police are under Stonewall's tentacles, and recording crime by gender identity instead of sex. Mediocre males taking women's places at the Olympics, men with fetishes being given full run of rape crisis centres, young girls and lesbians being indoctrinated into this cult and set on medical pathways for life, being preyed upon by all who can make money from them. It is sickening. I'm angry, and if you're angry, you need to speak up. Speak up to anyone you can, and essentially you need to contact your local representatives in government, all of them. No matter what party they're a member of, ask them the question, what is a woman? Will you protect female-based, sex-based rights in law? Let them know if they can't answer your question with a straight answer, they won't get your vote. Challenge to your children's schools using the transgender trend packs, which are amazing, I did that myself. Keep saying what some find an uncomfortable truth. Don't be scared anymore to state the reality around us, because the more of us who stand up to speak, the stronger we are. And that's about it. So in the voice of Magdalene Burns, keep fighting, because we need everyone else hungry.
Well done, thank you so much. When it comes to speaking up, can I just say people are ready? Like, if you're worried about speaking up, the time is now. People are ready. Even good old Boris, who we knew what a woman was because he impregnated so many. Even Boris has started speaking now. So this is the time. If you've ever felt afraid before, this really is the time. It's now. If not now, then when? And if not you, then who? So please start talking up. If you haven't talked to your school, now is the time. Just do it. Don't wait. I went viral I went viral a few times actually. But a little bit of humour always helps. You know, I'm not a vet, but I know what a dog is. Was quite successful. Thank you to all who bought the t-shirt. If you want to join a local Standing for Women group, you go local@standingforwomen.com. We'll provide you with materials so that you can come into your public square and you can keep talking. But now enough for me. Do you want to speak?
Hi, my name's Annette Mackay, and I'd like to tell you a story about what happens when men decide to wipe out women's rights. In 1916 in Ireland, the newly created republic, a wonderful declaration, equal rights for every man, woman and child. In 1921, Eamon de Valera and John Charles McQuaid, the head of the Catholic Church, wiped away those rights. And my mother, in 1936, was sentenced to an industrial school for the crime of being destitute because her mother died. And in that industrial school, my mother was raped at 17 and sent to Tuam Mother and Baby Home. She gave birth in the December, and in the June, where she'd been sent to another mother and baby home, she was told, the child of your sin is dead. And they threw her out the same day. They put her on the road, as she said. So that was the end of Mother's story, or so she thought. When she was 70, my mother told us about this baby. Mary Margaret O'Connor died at 6 months. We went looking for Mary Margaret O'Connor, and we found out that Mary Margaret O'Connor is in a cesspit at the Mother and Baby Home, still unburied with 796 children. The Catholic Church are trying to take over the National Maternity Hospital in Ireland, and the Vatican will have rights to decide what treatments can be carried out in that national maternity home. Women's rights are constantly under attack from men who think they can and do better and know better. My sister still lies in a cesspit in Tuam, County Galway, in the west of Ireland. 7 years after that story was first told, women still don't have rights. Female girls don't have rights. That's my story.
Thank you. It's ever-reaching, isn't it? This assault on women is ever-reaching and never-ending. Who's next? Can I just say to the penis, have I? You've got to wait till the end.
Hello everybody. I'm fairly new to Manchester. I've only been here 4 years. But until I moved here, I was a GP in Lincolnshire. I was a GP for 25 years. And my message today is really for all the doctors, nurses and pharmacists, but particularly for the doctors. Have a think about what we're doing to children and young people. I think we're heading for the next big medical scandal. And know that every doctor wants to do the best for their patient. I've been there. But I just want to draw people's attention to previous medical scandals. I want to talk about how we let blood from ill patients for 2,500 years, thereby hastening the death of many because we thought we were doing the right thing. I want to talk about how we gave 40,000 lobotomies in America and 17,000 lobotomies in the UK, where we disrupted the passage of information from the frontal lobes to the rest of the brain, rendering people basically zombies, because we thought we were curing mental illness and we were doing the right thing. I want to talk about thalidomide, which affected my generation, and about the 100,000 babies that were conceived while their mothers were taking thalidomide, most of whom were never born. Of the 10,000 babies born, only 3,000 are alive today. These are people who should be my age. And I'd like to talk about the HIV and hepatitis C contaminated blood that we gave to haemophiliacs because we thought we were doing the right thing. And I was a junior doctor, and I am sure I must have given contaminated blood to haemophiliacs. And we killed 3,000 haemophiliacs in the UK because we thought we were doing the right thing. Now, I have to ask, have we learnt anything from our past mistakes? Why are we given unproven, untested drugs with uncertain long-term consequences to children and young people? Why on earth are we doing it? Why aren't we asking why there is a 500,000% increase in young women young girls being referred to the gender identity clinics? Why are we rushing to affirm and treat when we have no idea what we're doing? So this is my message to doctors, nurses, pharmacists, and particularly to doctors. Please stop. Call a halt. Let's not contribute to the maiming and life-changing treatments that will have terrible consequences for children and young people. It's my message to doctors.
Brace yourselves.
Yes, brace yourselves. Hi, I'm Dr. M. Thank you, and thank you for the amazing talks. And I cannot believe I've had to travel on a train for 4.5 hours to talk about how kids aren't kinky. So, in 2021, feminists were getting banned from Twitter for calling out trans activist Alok for saying that little girls are kinky and should be sexualized. Well, as Shana Mizelo argued, Alok's statements are terrifyingly similar to comments often made by pedophiles who excuse their crimes by saying the children wanted it. She wanted to suck it. Well, no, actually, she didn't. Kids don't have kinks. There is a lot of projection of adult male sexuality on children going around at the moment. A teacher that I don't feel it's safe to mention their name, who has recently argued that 3-year-olds have arousal fixations, that 3-year-olds are fetishists. Now, mate, kids are not kinky. Well, I shall only focus on one example now.
David Hayton.
And sadly, it's not him. It is the Juno and Pete, the inappropriate Morecambe and Wise, because they're attempting to tour schools up and down the country, speaking at, excuse me, I have to take a breath, LGBTQIA+, I think I got them all Pride events. So parents may wish to ask their schools if these are the most appropriate ambassadors of the lesbian, gay and bisexual community to be helping their children figure out their sexuality. Sorry, I may need assistance turning my pages. Thank you. So, schools are hosting these Shuckle Brothers of gender woo-woo and child sexuality at private events. And this suggests that they know something is off. Why the need for such outside of the curriculum and outside of the hours wiggle room? Juno Dawson, a trans-identified male, has claimed that being gay is a consolation prize for not being a woman. And where is the pride in being a second choice? Maybe Dawson will be promoting and selling copies of Wonderland, which is marketed on Amazon and Waterstones as suitable for 12-year-olds. Safe Schools Alliance have had a raid, and they found that it is full of male fantasy tropes. The book opens inside St. Agnes, an all-girls boarding school. Who thinks about that? And men, yep. And it starts by saying that these young girls, well, their bodies are ridden with STIs. Alice, Dawson's trans-identified male teenage protagonist, says, "The fact I exist is enough. The fact I'm young is a bonus. I'm a blow-up doll." And then boasts about his perky little boobs. Books that use phrases such as, "Let them use your body and get fucked both ends like a little piggy," and "You're a fucking cum slut, you worthless whore," should not be recommended to children, in my opinion. And I think the author is therefore not suitable to speak to them about whether they fancy men or women. The deck to his aunt, Peter Thatchell, has accidentally I emphasise, written a chapter for a book promoting paedophilia, accidentally written a positive review of the book promoting paedophilia, alleges to have been tricked into writing an obituary for a known paedophile who was a founding member of Pi and was supposedly misinterpreted as arguing for the age of sexual consent. Sorry about this. I'm so needy. Thank you. To be lowered in a letter to The Guardian, where he stated that friends as young as 9 years old had enjoyable sexual experiences. To me, that is crystal. But Thatchell had another whoopsie-daisy by uploading an account of a prostituted 14-year-old boy enjoying sex with the adult men who had purchased him. This is strangely similar to Juno Dawson's fictional character Alice. The disturbing confession promoted to 12-year-olds that he has an active app-based sex life with married men coming from outlying commuter towns. Another one guesses, soon to be described as a whoopsie-daisy, was when Thatchell was on the Stephen Nolan show to defend the family sex show, in which 5-year-old children in school groups are encouraged to sing about rubbing their genitals to orgasm with unknown adults while looking at naked strangers. How clumsy. And I must ask, should men so accident-prone be speaking to children about sex relationships? And schools are where a lot of this inappropriate information is being introduced to children. Something sinister is afoot. The Respect Yourself guidance was being used in England in 2019, claimed the biggest issue for young people was watching porn, and that it was seen as something that they shouldn't be doing. So children were being taught in schools that it is good for them to consume. I can only interpret. No Mercy, Anal, Relentless, Rough Fucking Penal. That had 30.3 million views, so it's not niche. Hardcore Piss and Throat, 1.3 million views. I mean, Warwickshire Council, they're all about me school children was promoting anal and bukkake as, you know, liberating for kids. And All About Me described pornography to children as the best career where a woman could out-earn a man. So, as porn and kink, disassociation with the body and lowered boundaries are promoted to our kids, that children are presented as just mini adults, adultification, and adults are encouraged to keep secrets. I really wonder what could go wrong. I mean, Thatcher argues that children, kids, particularly around sexuality, should have the same right to privacy as adults. But children are not adults, Peter. They require looking out for. They do not have the cognitive development to make such important decisions. But power is working. We have got some of the guidance out of the schools. We have got the family sex show cancelled where it is. And now, I would like to close, and I want you to chant with me, and if anything, just to make me feel a bit more normal. So, not being adults, kids aren't kinky. Please repeat it after me.
Kids are kinky.
Thank you.
Chloe? Can I have something light? Little interval.
Hello. I've got a little poem that I only just writ, so forgive me if I'm a bit shit on it. Okay, so it goes, I really hate to break it to you, but you're not a rebel, it's true. You're a commodity. Money gets made right off your back. Because what you do is nothing new. It's just the same old bad that's been picked up, dusted off, vacuum packed and given back to your generation as this new way to act. It's kind of sad. You think your mom and dad don't understand when it was their fad before you ever began. They say... Well, keep going. They say... Okay. They say... What you say, fanboys? They say new romantics. My generation had its fads too. The goths, the punks, the metalheads, and the emos, to name a few. I'd say the emos are most like you, except the worst they could do was get some shitty tattoo they'd one day have to pay to remove. But what you remove can't be undone. Once it's gone, it's gone. And don't tell me you never change your mind, because I've seen a bunch of you online crying about the Harry Potter tattoo you got back when you thought it was shit, huh? And now what? And now what? You've changed your mind, because that's what happens over time. People change and they grow, and I guarantee the day will come when you feel ashamed that you let the big pharma into your brain, and you let them convince you that in order to be true, you had to change everything about you. Remember at the top when I said you're not a rebel? Well, you're a stock. You're someone's pension pot. They get paid every time you have a knock, and there's no going back. You've been had, it's a scam and there's no going back, but you can stand up and get mad and stop other children being put on that track.
Thank you to all the trans activists that are making us look so civilized. It's really, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Radical trans liberation, what is that? Enter women's spaces. That's what that is. I'm going to just change my... Okay. Okay, I've got you. Hi everyone.
It's really lovely to see us, such a massive crowd, and we're all on the same side, and we're growing. Every week there are more of us. Every time we post there are more of us. So I want to continue where another speaker left off, and I want to talk about kids. So we've seen how dangerous it is to construct this idea of a trans child, to label some children with some identity problem that needs medication and surgery. These children have distress. They need to be treated for distress.
That is not to say that we need to provide them with untested interventions like changing their names and pronouns and telling them they can invade the toilets that belong to the children of the opposite sex. We do not know the full impact of these interventions, but we strongly suspect that they lead them ever closer to surgery and medication that remove adult sexual function, fertility, mobility. These are serious, serious interventions that nobody would wish for their children. We must limit the number of children being fed into this sausage meat grinder. Having dealt with the idea of the trans child, which is a nonsense, I want to talk about the idea that there are children who have innate paraphilias, children that have autogynephilia. Now,
No! Kids aren't kinky!
kids aren't kinky! Exactly. So what is a paraphilia, I wondered? So I looked it up, and it means, and bear in mind, this is something that teachers and so-called safeguarding experts are claiming was present in a 3-year-old, a toddler. A paraphilia is any intense and persistent sexual interest other than sexual interest in genital stimulation or preparatory fondling with phenotypically normal, physically mature, consenting human partners. So the basis of a paraphilia is that it's a sexual desire for something that isn't a consenting human adult partner. 3-year-olds can't even conceive of a sexual desire. It's not something that's present in a 3-year-old. It's never present. Their brains aren't capable of conceiving it. Always, when people argue this, ask yourself, who benefits? Who benefits from arguing that 3-year-olds have paraphilias? Kids aren't kinky. Now, some of these adults are trying to justify adult choices that they make because they want to claim they've got no power over their compulsions. Fetishes and trans identities are the result of many thousands of choices that they have control over. Adults must take responsibility for the choices that we make. Sometimes we make bad choices. We've got the right to make bad choices. We try not to make bad choices that can't be undone. Choices that are made in service of a sexuality that was allowed to develop and mature is not something that these children are ever going to have, because they're being prevented from developing an adult sexuality. Puberty is a window, and once we pass it, there's no going back. Adults are trying to obscure the sexual nature of their compulsions. They're using pornography that encourages the idea that they have no control over what they're doing. They're in a position where they have no power, but power differences matter. The power difference between men and women matters. The power difference between adults and children matters. Who benefits? Who benefits from obscuring those power relations? Children are actually not in control. That's why we must safeguard them. Their emergent sexuality should be allowed to develop in a natural manner at their own time, at their own pace, without the nefarious adult interference which is being pushed by this horrible ideology. I've got more to say,
but I'm going to finish here. Read Dr. M's essay on forced teaming. Don't fall for it. Who benefits? Kids aren't kinky.
Right, the end to this little bit of song is It's Surely Like Being a Tough. Are you ready? What a day this has been, what a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's surely like being a tough. Anyway, I thought we'd combat that. They had Britney on just now, it's quite good. It's quite good. Come. And then you've got to go next. Okay, thank you. Katie's going to be after.
Hi, my name's Jill. Welcome to Manchester. I'm a proud Mancunian and a proud feminist. I grew up in the 80s going to the bars and clubs across this city. In fact, I was at the opening of the Hacienda, which celebrates its 30th birthday next week. I'll leave you to do the maths and you can realise how old I am. I also realised how lucky I was to have been grown up, be part of a generation where it was gender, not sex, that was challenged. I spent my time hanging out with boys who wore more makeup than me. Some were gay, most were straight. None were afraid to use the men's toilets or expected me to call them hers. The girls at that time did not feel that wanting to wear masculine clothing or having short hair meant that they may need to ask strangers to donate to a double mastectomy fund. I feel truly sorry for those people today who appear to be trapped by gender, not liberated from it. I understand that each generation must find their own way to rebel and that young people think they invented sex, or in this case gender, but the physical and psychological harm being perpetrated by gender ideology is more than a fashion. A few weeks ago I attended the Women's Place UK meeting down the road from here. You are probably aware it was protested by activists, desperate to drown out the voices of women talking about their sex-based rights. How is this possible in 2022 in Suffragette City? I'm shaking. A year ago, I was accused in my job of gross misconduct, and I was subjected to a disciplinary investigation. My crime was writing a comment on Facebook stating my belief that a biological man is not and can never be a girl. After 22 years working with vulnerable young people and families, the safeguarding instinct runs deep. I would like to thank Posey, Maya, Alison, Kira, and all the other amazing women who are fighting to protect women's rights. Sadly, Maya's ruling came literally a few weeks after I was sanctioned. Lousy timing on my part. Finally, for the avoidance of doubt, I wish to clearly state that I am not a bigot, I'm not a Nazi, I'm not a transphobe. I do not wish to erase trans people or wish them harm. I am here to exercise my right to free speech and talk about beliefs that are worthy of respect in a democratic society. And finally, in the words of Emmeline, Manchester is a city which witnessed a great many stirring episodes, especially of a political character. Generally speaking, its citizens have been liberal in their sentiments and defenders of free speech and liberty of opinion. Yes.
Can I just say, because I'm terribly ungracious, I want to thank Belle Staffy, Katie, Chloe and Iris, and all you other women up here who have really helped this happen today. I literally couldn't have done it without you, so thank you very much. And now over to Katie.
Hello, my name's DJ Lipper. Some of you might know me from Make More Noise. It was a group formed in this very city about 5 years ago to oppose trans rights activists like these lovely fellas over here. Hi guys! it's a bit of a homecoming for me. I've been away in London for a couple of years and now I'm back here for this event. I thought, what a fabulous representation of what's happening with feminism that we come to speak outside Emmeline Pankhurst's statue, our Emmeline, and then them lot decide to colonise it and put a load of trans rights flags on her. You know, we've moved over here, and I don't know if you can see these pictures here, if you're wondering what is it on the live stream. This is a piece of art by Ali Crew. It's a series of photographs of victims of domestic violence. And I think, you know, we're living in a crisis at the moment. Women have lost abortion rights in America. Rape is at epic proportions, and when we meet and gather to talk about the things that affect us, we're met with this kind of reaction. Do you know what? Some things never change. And I was reading, I've got this little book of suffrage speeches, and I found a speech by Emmeline Pankhurst. It's called Freedom or Death. And I thought I'd read it out because I think there's a lot of lessons. It's a potting history of the suffrage movement in England and how they'd used revolutionary methods to fight a civil war. So this is what civil war's like when women do it. So this speech was delivered in Connecticut, America. She was on break from being arrested. She'd gone over there to do a speech. So here it goes. I do not come here as an advocate. I am here as a soldier who has temporarily left the field of battle in order to explain what civil war is like when civil war is waged by women. I am not only here as a soldier, I am here as a person who, according to the law courts of my country, is of no value to the community at all. And I am adjudged because of my life to be a dangerous person under sentence of penal servitude in a convict prison. It is not at all difficult if revolutionaries come to you from Russia, if they come to you from China, or from any other part of the world, if they are men. But since I am a woman, and so you see in the women's civil war, the dear men of my country are discovering it is absolutely impossible to deal with it. You cannot locate it, and you cannot stop it. Put them in prison, they said. That will stop it. But it didn't stop it at all. Instead of the women giving up, more women did it, and more women did it, until there were 300 women at a time who had not broken a single law, only made a nuisance of themselves, as the politicians say. Then they began to legislate. The British government passed more stringent laws to deal with the agitation than it ever found necessary during all the history of political agitation in my country. They had to dip back into the Middle Ages to find a means of repressing the women in revolt. They have said to us, government rests upon force. The women haven't force, so they must submit. Well, we are showing them that the government does not rest upon force at all. It rests upon consent. As long as women consent to be unjustly governed, they can be. But directly women say, we withhold our consent. We will not be governed any longer so long as the government is unjust. Not by the forces of civil war can you govern the very weakest woman. You can kill that woman, but she escapes you then. You cannot govern her. No power on earth can govern a human being, however feeble, who withholds his or her consent. When they put us in prison at first, simply for taking petitions, we submitted. We allowed them to dress us in prison clothes. We allowed them to put us in solitary confinement. We allowed them to put us among the most degraded of criminals. We learned of some of the appalling evils of our so-called civilization that we could not have learned in any other way. It was a valuable experience, and we were glad to get it. I have seen men smile when they heard the words hunger strike, and yet I think there are very few men alive today who would be prepared to adopt a hunger strike for any cause. It is only people who feel an intolerable sense of oppression who would adopt a means of this kind. Now, that went on so long that the government felt they were unable to cope. It was then that, to the shame of the British government, they set the example to authorities all over the world of being insane, resisting human beings. Now, that was done in England, and the government thought they had crushed us. But they found that it did not quell the agitation, that more and more women came in, and even past that terrible ordeal, that they were obliged to let them go. Then came the legislation, the Cat and Mouse Act. The Home Secretary said, "Give me the power to let these women go when they are at death's door, and then leave them at liberty under license until they have recovered their health again, and then bring them back." It was passed to repress the agitation, to make women yield, because that is what it has really come to, ladies and gentlemen. It has come to a battle between the women and the government as to who shall yield first. Whether they will yield and give us the vote, or whether we will give up our agitation. Well, little they know what women are. Women are very slow to rouse, but once they are aroused, once they are determined, nothing on earth and nothing in heaven will make women give way. It is impossible. And so this Cat and Mouse Act, which is being used against women today, has failed. There are women lying at death's door recovering enough strength to undergo operations who have not given and won't give in, and who will be prepared as soon as they go up from their sick beds to go on as before. There are women who are being carried from their sick beds on stretchers into meetings. They are too weak to speak, but they go amongst their fellow workers just to show that their spirit is unquenched, and that their spirit is alive, and they mean to go on as long as life lasts. Now, I want to say to you who think that women cannot succeed, we have brought the government of England to this position, that they have to face this alternative. Either women are to be killed, or women are to have the vote. You won your freedom in America when you had the revolution by bloodshed, by sacrificing human life. You won the Civil War by the sacrifice of human life when you decided to emancipate the Negro. You left it to women in your land, the men of all civilized countries have left it to women, to work out their own salvation. That is the way in which we women of England are doing. Human life for us is sacred. But we say, if any life is to be sacrificed, it shall be ours. We won't do it ourselves, but we will put the enemy in the position where they will have to choose between giving us freedom or giving us death. So, here am I. I come in the intervals of prison appearance. I come after having been 4 times imprisoned under the Cat and Mouse Act, probably going back to be rearrested as soon as I set foot on British soil. I come to ask you to help to win this fight. If we win it, this hardest of all fights, then to be sure, in future, it is going to be made easier for women all over the world to win their fight when the time comes. Thank you, and I just wanted to say thank you all for coming today. I think it's really brave to come when you're facing this kind of harassment. Maybe some of you are here for the first time, maybe you don't know anybody, but you know, just being here, just placing your feet here is an incredibly brave act of defiance. Never let them stop, never let them silence you. We're going to win this because we're women.
You're more than welcome to come in a little bit if you can't hear because of the music. It was great. They just played Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and it's not quite true. We actually just want to have rights. Thanks very much. Where is my next speaker? Yes.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm just going to be super quick, but mine's kind of a story where I'm going to like lay it out on the line. I'm a bit embarrassed about what I'm going to tell you, but I think it's important. So basically, about 3 years ago, I was absolutely trans women are women. Trans women in women's sports will make them work harder. Now, my mum is in a same-sex relationship. She is a lesbian. And her partner is very gender non-conforming, like as gender non-conforming as it gets. Like people at school, like, oh, is that your dad? I'm like, no, it's my mum's girlfriend. So I'm used to gender non-conforming women, all of this, and I thought I was a critical thinker. Like my dad has been protesting, so look, I'm mixed race. My dad's been protesting stuff to do with race for how long? My mum's been. We saw footage of her in the BBC protesting in the 70s against stuff, and she's like, things are actually worse now. But I was willing to go against my own mother. Like my mum is my hero. She is the kindest woman you could ever meet. You could punch her in the face, and then she would give you the jacket off her back to keep you warm. Like she's amazing. But I was willing to go head to head with my mum, who was trying to explain to me all these different things, like they're in lesbian spaces, they're controlling language police. I had an answer for everything, so I had been brainwashed to the nines, the absolute nines. And then one day, I'm a musician, and one day I was on Instagram, and it was something so completely in my head, not related. But I'd made this comment on Instagram, and someone came along and said, "You're not a woman nor a female." And I'm like, what? I literally was on my period at that moment. So if I wasn't on my period, I don't know if I would be standing here turfing. Like I went from 0 to 60, like seriously. So this person who I now, with a bit of knowledge, I know it probably wasn't a woman on the other side of this account. But anyway, they said, "You're not a woman or a female." I really innocently said, "Can you tell that to my uterus? Because it's really troubling me right now." Little did I know, I had literally, that was me, 2 feet over into turfery. I had no idea. So I had 5 or 6 different accounts came and like, "Oh, so you're a turf, do you realise that's really hurtful to trans women?" And I was going in circles trying to work out and explain to them, "Oh no, I'm not, I understand that." And I'd spent about 15 minutes and been called a Nazi. Like, I was coming on here. And everything my mum had been telling me for the last 2 years. So this is what I'm trying to say, is if you've got children that are kind of saying, "Oh, trans women are women and be kind, be kind, be kind," that's what I was saying to my mum. But be kind, mum. Like, my mum is the kindest person on the planet. Anyway, so everything she had said just at 1 minute just went, whoop, and it all just made sense. So I had this moment where I see, when I say peaked, it was Mount Everest peaking. I had all this knowledge suddenly, and I was faced with this choice. Like, as a musician, like obviously I want to make it, I want to get as far as I can, I want to get my message out there. Before this, I had a very strong female positive message anyway, but I had to make a choice. Am I going to put my name out there with women's rights, or am I going to stand in the background and kind of say, "Oh, I quietly believe, I quietly think this," And I made a decision, I think it was about 2 years ago now, to just outright just go for it. This is what I think, that it's reality, like it is literally. When I realise it's language, like where are we going to go if we can't have a conversation where I say my uterus makes me a woman? It's scary. So I decided at that point as a musician, which it was really genuinely scary I thought, this is me shooting myself in the foot, the door is never opening for me from this point. And in actual fact, like I'm genuinely, it's obviously because of all of the women that have been speaking for the last however many years and put their careers on the line and all the rest of it, that in actual fact, since it's not been that scary. And I'm very public facing, like I sing in the streets every single day. I'm out in the streets, I wear my t-shirts, I'm very publicly doing what I do. And thanks to the women before us, they've made it, the atmosphere is so much different than when, sort of 4 years ago, when people were coming forward and were losing their jobs and all the rest of it. I'm in a position where I can't be fired. And I kind of looked at what I do and thought, no one can stop me singing in the streets, so I'm going to use my voice. And I just think, like, I was thinking, oh, maybe there's nothing I can say that hasn't been said before, but you have no idea who's listening to you. And you might say something in a word, just worded in a way that somebody goes, huh, and then they'll speak to another person, and they'll speak to another. Like, literally, I wrote a song for J.K. Rowling, which she liked the other day, and I almost passed out. Genuinely almost passed out. But this song is called I Am Woman, and if you listen to it, there is nothing transphobic in it, right? There's nothing. But people were getting told for retweeting it, "Oh, this is disgusting, this is transphobic, blah, blah." But it's so subtle that I actually got it on ITV News. So they were trying to ban busking, and I was like, "Can I sing one of my own songs?" And they were like, yeah. So they used it as the intro and everything. So I've managed to get my transphobic song out onto the news. So I just think, like, the atmosphere is not the same as it was. And I think those guys over there trying to make a hell of a lot of noise, all they're doing is beefing us up. The more noise they make, the more noise I make. Like, literally, that's all it's going to do. Our numbers can only grow. We can only grow in numbers. Like, I was one of them. 3 years ago, I'm doing. I am, everywhere I go, I shout about it. I like to think that I've peaked a few people. So, our numbers can only grow. That is literally, everyone is a turf in time. Give them time till it comes and bites them on the arse, and then they will be on our side. So I just want to say, the more noise they make, the more noise we will make. Make more noise! Make more noise!
I'm sure there's time at the end for some busking, to be fair. I'm sure we want to hear that song. Leslie?
Hi, my name's Leslie. I did write something down, but stupidly I put it on my phone and not on paper, so I can't see it. So whatever I said, I actually wrote something a lot better. We're here in Manchester today, in St Peter's Square, the home of the suffragette movement. I'm Lynn Pankhurst over there. That's her statue. Elaine Panker's statue over there, which has been kind of colonised by the men in dresses, I see. But does everybody know what that statue is actually called? It's called Rise Up Women. Not Rise Up Men in Dresses, Rise Up Women. St Peter's Square was also all around here. It used to be called St Peter's Field. And I don't know if you know about this, but back in 1819, groups of hundreds of people gathered here to listen to a radical orator. For their trouble, the cavalry was sent in. The cavalry then killed 18 men, women and children, and severely injured 700 others. Now, we're here in Manchester, and in St Peter's Square, we periodically celebrate our rights that have been hard won for women to have free speech, to have a vote, to have political representation, and also for anybody and everybody to meet, to hear whoever the hell they want to, and listen to whatever the hell they say. Now, the powers that be, which are called men, they try to excuse their behaviour by saying that the people gathered here were drunk and, wait for the word, they were dangerous. And now we're being told a 5-foot woman, a southern 5-foot woman even, is the most dangerous person on the earth. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm here for my foremothers, really. I'm not really that old, I'm not that old, but my grandmothers were both born right at the end of the 1800s. They didn't get the vote until they were nearly 30. They were running their own homes, they had children, but they didn't get to vote. And I am here on their behalf to say, Manchester is our city. It is women's city. It's men's city too. They're quite welcome. We don't, even the ones in dresses are quite welcome. But we need to acknowledge that women are being attacked here in our city. We all saw what happened at the Women's Place meeting. They're being abused and attacked, and these people are trying to intimidate them. Now, as people here will attest, that goes as far as them being physically attacked. On a march against men's violence,
missiles were actually hurled at women. Women were hurt. Women with children had bottles thrown at them. Now, I'm telling the politicians here, the police here, and you need to listen. This is Manchester. We have a proud history of free speech in Manchester. You either uphold that, or you allow this to continue. You allow women to be told you can't come here, or in their words, fuck off turfs. Well, no, we're not fucking off, we're here. And we're staying here, and they can do what they want. Now, all of you, all you women out there, and the men in this vicinity anyway, stay safe, all of you. Even the ones at the wrong side of the tracks, you stay safe too, because we're here for all women. And one day, you're going to catch wise. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. One moment. So we've got a bit of a queue now. Okay, they were playing Milkshake. I just thought, I think it's my milkshake that brought all the boys to the yard. To be frank. Okay, so I've got a number of women that want to speak. I've sent someone for some water, just in case some of you are flagging. If you are going to speak, if we can keep them a little bit shorter now, because the pub beckons. But I would like everyone to actually have a chance to speak. So in this order, it'll be you, then you, then you. Okay? And you. Oh, and Menno. Fine. Okay, you. Oh, they're playing Toxic. They are toxic. They certainly are toxic.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm from Birmingham. I'm not from Manchester, as you can probably tell by the accent, but I do know quite a few of yours. Weren't going to speak today, but I thought I'd read a poem out that I wrote a long time ago before I even started writing songs about this. So I'll just go with that. Can you all hear me? Okay, it says, trans women are women. Is that really what you believe? That Sarah, who used to be Stephen the creep, the real incel, into lesbian porn while touching himself, is now a woman, a lesbian even. He's wearing a dress and taking estrogen. He's a trans woman, the most oppressed class alive. Sometimes he likes to pretend he's age 5. But now it's Sarah, who's hoping she'll find a real hot lesbian who really won't mind. They hound lesbian forums. Why won't you date me? If you don't accept my dick, then it means that you hate me. Then you have mediocre male athletes failing in their career, changing to a woman and win gold every year. Ambitious teenage boys, they know the tip, that transition can mean attainment of an important scholarship. And what of the CEO, the privileged white male, who's now the highest paid female CEO? Her name's Gail. He's benefited from male privilege all his life. At leisure to pursue his career, just ask his wife. She does the drudgery, he's not interested in that. He gets the accolades and his company meet the requirements of the Equality Act. One thing I do notice is the complete lack of the use of the word orthogynophiliac. The fetish they used to hide, cross-dressing in secret, behind closed doors, nobody to see it. But you know what gives these men their biggest thrill? Bending others to their will. People playing along with their sexual fantasy, pretending they are the women they want to be. If you don't say I'm a woman, you're transphobic, you hate me. But Fifi, you're the one online threatening to rape me. You said you stuff your penis down my throat and punch me in the face. And you wonder why I don't want you in my private space. Amber Alert loves to dress as a sexy teenage girl. But do you know what Amber Alert means around the world? And a certain Canadian, let's not forget about him, asking a 10-year-old about tampons if she needs help to put one in. Drag queens in schools, adult sex performers taking parents for fools. They're coming for our children. They want vulnerable minds to feed with the bullshit that gender defines, whether you like blue or pink, a career or the kitchen sink. If a boy wears his hair long, it means his body is wrong. It's gender dysphoria, the woke people claim. Look up the doctor who gave it this name. I did, and he's a crook and a paedophile. Look for yourself, his experiments are vile. His name's Dr. John Money, and his name gives a clue as to why the medical industry are following it through. And what of the trans men? Why do they not get a mention? Why do I not give them the same attention? Because they're not a threat to men. Would they choose to go to prison with them? No, and do you know why? Because they would not treat her like a guy, and trust me, as they forced her down, they would not care about her pronoun. And so I fight for them too. If you're biologically female, my feminism includes you. I get that woman is not an easy fit. I understand why you want to identify out of it. So this is for the women that sympathise, that shout TERF, unaware they're participating in their own demise. We still fight for you, sisters, even though you side with the misters. We fight for safe female spaces, our private places, for our daughters to compete without losing to a man they just can't beat. For the women in power to be just that, not a man in a dress where a female should be sat. We're fighting for the female prisoners with nowhere to hide, no escape from the men with them locked inside. It's oppression, I can't believe you can't see, the hoax that they call gender ID. So it's time to unite, to stand up. No longer will we go with the flow. It's time to redefine our boundaries and say no!
Hi everybody. I'm the mother of 2 daughters. My eldest is 11 and she's autistic. She is gender non-conforming. She lives in tracksuit bottoms and a hoodie and likes climbing trees and playing computer games. She'd rather be online than playing with kids her own age. She's the archetypal girl who falls victim to transgender ideology. I hope that I have got there first. I hope I've inoculated her against it. I don't believe in wrapping children in cotton wool and shielding them from the world. I talk to them and I prepare them for the world as it is, whilst fighting to make it better. But already my children are coming across female peers calling themselves trans, non-binary and asexual. Girls not even done going through puberty are already looking for their identities within the cult of trans. A cult that seems to have infiltrated everything. My children are home educated and the home ed community is rife with woke parents allowing and supporting their children to explore their gender identities. There's no escaping it. My daughters can't go on YouTube without seeing ads promoting transgender ideology. They can't play Roblox without their friends, without people stating their pronouns and gender identities, calling them bigots for refusing to go along with it. My eldest makes gender critical animations and posts them on YouTube. She's been called a TERF, told to throw herself in front of a car, told to kill herself. Again, she is 11. Children have enough to contend with without adults putting nonsense ideas in their heads. Prepubescent girls shouldn't be thinking about whether they might be asexual or really boys. They shouldn't be made to feel that something is wrong with them because they don't like the things that normal girls like. And they shouldn't be threatened with violence for stating the truth, something many adults seem to have lost touch with. We're living in a time of unprecedented threats to childhood. Helicopter parenting and bad ideas have gone hand in hand with identity politics and an online culture that is beyond toxic. Our children don't need safe spaces and to be supported in being their authentic selves. They need the adults to grow up and to see sense. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Becca Firebird. I'm infiltrating from Wales. So pnawn da, merched. Good afternoon, women. I'm here from Wales and with also Shropshire, but to represent Wales Women's Rights Network. There's so many things I could bang on about, so I won't, because I do go on. So I bring a message from the women of Wales, and some of these words I will credit to Cathy Larkman, who I'm sure many of you will have seen in the Mail article about police searches by trans-identified males a few weeks ago. We have huge challenges in Wales, an administration desperate to push through an affirmative approach and to ban conversion therapy for trans people, which will harm young people, particularly young lesbians, gay men, or young gay men, and children on the autistic spectrum. Have they not listened to the detransitioners? Sorry, I'm very nervous. That the Welsh Government has stonewalled and other ideological organisations, sorry Charlotte, pissing in their ears. It's my daughter, it's my turf born. I don't swear in front of her. They refuse to listen to women's groups who haven't succumbed to gender ideology. This is unbalanced at best and harmful at worst. The Welsh administration has its fingers firmly in its ears. This will ultimately fail women and children. They also intend to follow Scotland and will push for self-ID. Disaster. So far, the Welsh media appears tame and is not highlighting or even platforming Welsh women who speak out. And there are lots of us. If you see them on Twitter, especially in the south, they are amazing. But Welsh women are not shrinking violets, or should that be daffodils? And we won't wished. We are fighting back. There be dragons in our hills. But we do need support from our sisters all over the UK, because the Welsh administration is dire. We cannot let our rights be eroded and the lives of children ruined with a ban on watchful waiting, counselling, or anything but affirmation for that matter. So finally, a message to Mark Drayford. Shame on you! And to the Welsh Government, shame on you!
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Trans women are men! Trans women are men! Trans women are men! Trans women are men!
Trans women are men!
Trans women are men!
Trans women are men!
I have to say this is profoundly ableist because, as you may know, there are some people here that have autism, and to have the sensory overload of having all this noise in the back here and trying to focus on what's going on here, talking about lived experiences, that is making it more difficult. So this is profoundly ableist. First of all, I'm on my period right now. Second of all, vaginas are organs, not cavities. If it's a cavity, well then, a lot of other things could be cavities too. Vaginas, they give birth to people. They're birthing canals. And a cavity is not a birthing canal. And it's so important that we realize that, what that is, and be able to talk about that. I want to keep this really short because I can't focus with the noise that's going on. But I work in a school, and everything they're saying about the schools, I work in a school, it's all happening, all of it. We have a check your thinking poster in the staff room in my school. Check your thinking. If George wants to be Jane, and Jane uses the girls' bathrooms, and the staff member says, maybe I think they should use the accessible toilets, the neutral toilets, gender neutral toilets. Staff member says to their staff member, we're supposed to check the other staff members' thinking and saying that's transphobic. They are to use the girls' bathroom, not the gender neutral toilets or the accessible toilets. So now accessible toilets are now transphobic. That is how far it's gotten. I'm in the library. There's a 12-year-old girl picking up a book about a man transing his child and a trans journey. 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds are picking up books about the trans journey in their library, unsupervised, with no adult to guide them. The whole thing, it's worse than you think it is. You're only seeing the tip of the iceberg of what's going on in your schools. There's the trans flag in every classroom in the school that I work in Manchester. The gender fluid flags in some of the classrooms. They've got up there, all the flags are there in all of the classrooms, and some of them have nothing to do with orientation. As as for autistic spaces, they're ruined. All of our autistic spaces in terms of helping ourselves and helping the community are just absolutely ruined with this garbage. If you say anything that's mildly transphobic, you are ejected from it to autistic support services in terms of peer support, lateral support. Unless you're 100% conforming, you're gone. And then what is your support left then? So our artistic spaces are ruined. Our schools are ruined. A friend of mine, her daughter is on Lupron, but it's for genuine medical purposes. It has nothing to do with trans. And she told me, she goes, imagine having a healthy body and putting that in it. You don't have any gratitude for the health of your body. She said, I watched my daughter go on this stuff because she has to. This is a medical condition, a genuine medical condition. She said, I cannot imagine anyone with a healthy child putting that in their child's body. It's just madness. And it's just a complete lack of ingratitude. I want to keep this short again, like I said. I'll end up with the last thing I wanted to mention. I wanted to say that gender non-conformity. Trans doesn't exist. Trans people don't exist. They don't. A gender non-conforming male, with or without dysphoria, is not what a woman is. It is nothing else other than what it is. So, I can't find the article right now, but last thing. There's a nurse in Sheffield who got arrested recently, a nurse, for filming up the gowns of his patients. Filming footage of the gowns of his patients after surgery. Women, all women. But when I say, if a nurse was caught filming up the gowns of patients, automatically, what are you thinking? Is that a male nurse or a female nurse? And this man's been doing it 25 years. 25 years, and he's only been caught out now. So being gender non-conforming male does not change the propensity for these kinds of crimes. It's so important that women's spaces are acknowledged and protected regardless of how you identify gender-wise. Fluid, non-binary, doesn't change the fact that you're a male and that these are male crimes and they're being recorded in social policy. I have a degree in social policy. I can't even imagine when we're studying statistics for social policy and crime in the future that the male crimes are going to be skewed towards female crimes and how that's going to affect academics. Academics are already ruined. It's just going to, where is it going to go in the future? So I'll leave you to it. I know we're trying to power through everybody and get to the pub afterwards, so I'll leave it there and thank you.
Sorry, I was engaged in a really fruitful conversation. Apparently Manchester's not fascist. So I think we all knew that, which is why we're here. Right, we're running out of time. Women, yes.
Hello. Hello, Manchester. Mine's a little speech about women. Okay. So 2 years ago, I was cracking on with my life, completely oblivious to the gender ideology going on around me. I liked a tag group on Facebook, and suddenly I was led down the gender rabbit hole and my eyes were open. Trans women are women, people screeched. No change there, as you can see. Which perplexed me, because women are women. Then came the search for a different definition of woman that includes me, and I can't find a single definition of woman that includes both myself and trans-identified males, unless your definition of woman is long hair. Never mind one that does the same for every single woman on the planet. Adult human female is the only definition that includes every single woman who has ever lived, and any other definition leaves the vast majority of women without a word for ourselves and essentially boots millions of us out of our own sex class in order to include a minuscule amount of members of the opposite sex.
Yay!
Men have taken so much from women throughout history. Never before have they taken our name. There are hundreds of thousands of words in the English language, and we are not allowed even just one exclusive word for ourselves. If that isn't misogyny or womanphobia, I don't know what is. What is a woman is a question currently plaguing politicians and the like, and they always discuss trans-identified males, but of course everything has to be about men. Trans men are men, anyone? No, didn't think so. That's how you know they know who the men are, and the abuse you see today is how you know they know who the women are. There are one type of trans, I'll give them that, and that's transparent. What I would like to ask the politicians, and everyone else who includes males in their definition of woman, is if they believe adult human females are even deserving of an exclusive word for ourselves that doesn't include children, other species, or the opposite sex. What with us being none of those things? We only created all human life, including the lives of those attempting to redefine us. You wouldn't think a single word would be too much of an ask. Male and female have existed for 180 million years, women for 300,000 years, and we certainly knew the difference between men and women then. And it includes every single being who is one to the exclusion of all else. If gender non-conforming men want to exclude themselves from the definition of man, they can do so without being selfish enough to usurp a definition that excludes them. TRAs love to say, language is always evolving, so follow your own advice and evolve it then by creating a new word, like we did with every other single word in the other language. The word woman belongs to us. We are adult human females, we are women, and we will never allow our name to be taken.
Okay, any other actual women who want to speak? All right, so penis havers.
Hello. Right, I'll keep it short, so we can all go to the pub. Just a second. I've been having quite a few conversations, particularly with men around here, who have no idea what this is about. And if you simply say, well, here's a group of women, and they say that a woman is an adult human female. And they're like, oh, okay. What's the problem with that? I say, well, ask them. Anyways, we're in, supposedly, a time of celebrating diversity, and yet it's somehow considered hateful to say that two things are not the same. Take, for example, the statement, trans women are women. This statement is untrue, and quite blatantly so, but pointed out in even the most careful and diplomatic of ways, and all hell breaks loose. And hell, indeed, it has become, particularly for women and girls. Fired, expelled, or hounded out of their jobs, like Maya Forstetter, Helen Watts, Katie Alcock, Kathleen Stock, Susan Moore, investigated by the police, like Jenny Swain, our Newport sticker woman, because of vexatious claims, subjected to unrelenting smear campaigns, like the LGB Alliance, J.K. Rowling, and even physically assaulted, like Julie Bindel, Maria McLaughlin, and recently, here in Manchester, Belle Steffi. This is wrong. Then there are the unnamed women in prisons, told to share their hard-won single-sex spaces with men with magical lady feels. And if they don't play along with affirming those magical lady feels, they may get extra days added to their sentence. I believe this is wrong. A rape survivor facing her male rapist in court is expected to refer to his weapon of rape, his penis, as if it is female. I believe this is wrong. A woman raped in hospital was even told that no rape had actually taken place because her male rapist was supposedly just as much as a woman as herself. Calm down, dear. It's only a girl dick. This is a whole other level of wrong. And then there are the lesbians. Lesbians make some noise! Painted as sexual racists for not wanting to entertain men as fellow lesbians. Not just by some troll on Twitter, but by the CEO of the largest LGBTQIA what the fuck organization in Europe. Nancy Kelly, shame on you. Shame on you for saying that lesbians holding the line on female homosexuality are the same as racist. How fucking dare you? And this is why it is so important to say that two things are not the same. It allows us to point out not only the injustices that are taking place, but especially the lies that are spun to cover them up. And nothing sums up the lie better than the phrase, trans women are women. Apart from the women that are hurt by this lie, there is another group that is at risk and that I feel a responsibility for to protect. I'm talking about a certain type of guy, the young, sensitive kind, who gets shit for not being manly enough, who repeatedly gets told, "You're really a woman, aren't you?" Who struggles with the idea not just of being a man, but being a gay man, who lets these things eat away at him and begin to doubt if he's even a man at all. The lie offers him an explanation and an escape. It is these guys that need to know that not feeling like a proper man is not the same as being a woman. That the shame that comes from deep internalized homophobia is not the same as feeling like a woman. That getting a boner when you wear a dress is not the same as being a woman. I've listened to too many guys recently who bought into the lie, realized too late that they were just gay, that they didn't get the right support because of so-called gender affirmative care. That gender affirmative care only affirmed the lie that led them down a path, which means that today, now that they've realized they're gay men, they no longer have penises. Some of them have breasts, some have feminized faces. They are medical patients for life. And maybe some of the guys on that side will be one of these guys that realizes, well, fuck, I'm just a gay guy. More of these are popping up. I want to say to them, there is a place for you. There are people who listen to you. You will always be part of my sex class, which is the male sex class. And I want maleness to become more inclusive. Stay in your own lane. If you don't like your own lane, and I know because I've struggled with it for decades, find a way to make your own lane wider and better and prettier and more glitterier, whatever. But stay out of the women's lane and stop making theirs worse. So, in the case of these men that I've just mentioned, so-called transitioning was nothing short of medical gay conversion. I tried to tell him that earlier. They told me to fuck off. Well, I will have no part in it. Trans women are not women. They are men. If we say that trans women are women, we're not giving these vulnerable guys ways to unpick what they're struggling with. A woman is an adult human female. Thank you so much. It's so good to see a good turnout here, to see that flag and those colors waving around, to see a T-Rex. Thank you all for coming. I know some of you may be very nervous, especially when you're speaking. And thank you, especially to this boss-level powerhouse of a woman, Kellie-Jay. Thank you, Kelly. And in the words of Magdalene Burns, those words are still going around, keep fighting!
Thank you, Menno.
Hello, Manchester. My name is Alexander Bramham, and my pronouns are easily inferred from the t-shirt. Now, I wasn't scared when you stole my beanie hat at Manchester Pride. I wasn't scared when you harassed women at Women's Place UK for having their say. And I wasn't scared when you appropriated the suffering of gay men like me who experienced conversion therapy and called it your own. Now, I'm a bit of a geek, I'm a computer programmer, and I'm sure there's none of you here who are very interested to hear about JavaScript. But there's a phrase it used to be called ECMAScript, and Microsoft had a policy, embrace, extend, extinguish. They start off by saying, we've bought JavaScript, what we're doing with it, they add things, they change things, and the end goal is to extinguish it, is to divide any concepts of what men and women are, to take your rights away, to take gay rights away. I will not allow a woman here to have a scratch on a gay man. I'd like to thank the amazing women who've spoken today, the amazing friendship, the support. I'm honoured to be an ally, invited here to speak, and I'm proud of the rejection of this ideology here in Manchester. Manchester was almost set, they were rousing to celebrate the first trans councillor, a trans-identifying male called Chris Northwood. He didn't win, there was no coronation placing Chris as the new councillor in the ward. There was very little change, there was no great response or rejection of me or anybody else standing there. If you look at who Chris Northwood works for, a company called Culture Shift. The clue is in the name, and the devil here is in the detail. When you look at the policies that, say, John Connor Lyons, that Sophie alluded to, are forcing through when they say trans men are men, trans women are women, non-binary people are valid. This is the movement, as the flag says opposite, of anarchy. There is no non-binary gender identity concepts in law, nor will there be. It's rejected. Somebody having gender reassignment, that's nothing to do with this non-binary nonsense. It will not happen in Manchester. We will not see gender-neutral toilets, gender-neutral changing rooms replacing the ones that are already here. And we will not see a return to the anarchy of non-crime hate incidents. Some of us have respect for the law, some of us have respect for people's rights, hard fought for, some of us wish to make their own rules. Now, Chris Northwood's company, Culture Shift, what they offer at a high price tag, because there's big money in this, as people like Stonewall understand, when they, got us our gay rights and decided we need to make some money elsewhere. Chris Northwood's company is the head of software development offer a premium service of name matching. Is anybody familiar with those turf lists that went out, where I'm sure a lot of you appeared on it? It's all very cloak and dagger and underground, where you can be reported for something, guilty of it, pursued, a hit list, they call it. This is being developed and offered here in Manchester, equivalent to the non-crime hate incidents. Instead of a fair trial, instead of an appeal, instead of the right to say your side or to even know you're on a list, employers choosing who will work for them will pay this company big money to see their list, to see if there's any risk that a turf may join their business. And I'm not allowing it. I'm not allowing them to silence it with NDAs. I keep looking at the detail, keep standing up for common sense. And a massive, massive thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the amazing women, amazing gay, lesbian, bisexual people I've met since that rubbish day at Manchester Pride. And thank you to Kellie-Jay. And one more thing, you do not stand for me, for the LGBT. Don't call me queer.
So before I wrap up, just make sure nobody else wants to talk. Great, okay. So I want to say thank you. You want to talk? Yeah.
I just want to say that I am a cis female, and I recognise, thanks very much, I recognise trans women in women's spaces as alright. And I don't think we need to protest that. I don't think we need the vitriolic hate. Trans women are women! Trans women are women! Trans women are
Hello, hello. Hi. We knew, didn't we? We knew when we gave it to her. We could see the look on her face that she was a dick panderer. We knew. To that woman, I don't really care less if you find it acceptable for, and some of those men over there are like 6'4" in dresses, right? They are not coming in the spaces with my daughter over my dead body. It's not going to happen. I am not intimidated. I will not be silenced. I will not shut up. Every time some moron like that woman decides to speak up for men, it just makes my voice louder. If you like what Standing for Women has stood for a long bloody time now, and we've watched this decline on our language, on our spaces, on our kids' bodies, on our kids' futures. If you like what we do, please become a member. It means that we can sustain what we do. We started with a billboard, we will finish with the absolute annihilation of the Gender Recognition Act. There is not a civilized society on this great earth of ours that should recognize any born male as female. No way. We're not just going to hold the line here, we're going to take back what you took from us. And until every single man understands there is no such thing as trans, there is no such thing as changing your gender identity, we couldn't give a shit how you identify. Until that happens, we will not stop. The Gender Recognition Act is an absolute abomination on the assault of women's rights. The only thing the Gender Recognition Act it does is invite men into women's spaces and our conversations. Do not allow it. Do not talk to men on Twitter in dresses. Jesus Christ. If you really want to argue with a bloke on Twitter, ask yourself, who could I be writing to? Could I write to my school, my local healthcare trust? Could I do something positive? Don't let them suck you in. I know some professional feminists do it with long tweets, but don't do it. Just stay away from them. They're not important. They're not even legends in their own lunchtime. Don't give them any time. If we can be stunning and brave, if we can stand with courage and conviction, I promise you we will win. If we can stand in the face of intimidation, I promise we will win. If you use the word woman only when you mean an adult human female, if you stand against the transitioning of children, if you stop the body mutilation of healthy children across the United Kingdom, and we inspire the rest of the world to take our lead, if you can do that, we will win.